Welcome to Spenelli Speaks. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be starting the next two books. Well, I mean, obviously one at a time. I'm restarting the newest part of this vlog series of the series of unfortunate events. The next two books are book 4 and 5. The fourth book here is called The Miserable Mill, and that is what this one is. You can see that cover. And then the book after that is The Austere Academy, which is the 5th book in the series. And these two are pretty comparable in size, so I should be able to get through them pretty quickly. I'm excited, like I said in my previous vlog, which I'll post those above, but I've only really reread the first 3 books a couple of times. This will probably be my first time rereading any of the rest of the books. So I'm really excited because it'll be pretty new to me. I haven't read these in several years, so I'm very excited. I love how these books were all printed all similarly. I was reading them as they were being published, so I really like that, and I'm excited to get into these. So without further ado, here we go. Hi guys, so kind of a different location today. I'm kind of just hanging out. I'm actually hiding because I can't really film anywhere where there's someone not in the house, and I didn't really feel like going outside yet because I'm kind of still in my pajamas, so that's why I look so beautiful. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of a glimpse into the next book I'm reading in a series of unfortunate events. This one is The Miserable Mill, and this is actually the first book that Lemony Snicket really starts to introduce himself more as the narrator. We see it a little bit in the first 3 books where he is saying "now reader," or he's explaining how a word is described or the definition of a word. I'm sorry if you're hearing a lot of outside noises, but you're kind of in a window right now. But yeah, so I really enjoy, that was a car, I really enjoy how now it starts to pick up where we see that he is writing about the orphans after this has occurred. So he's relaying the story to us. And in the beginning of this book, it's very, very prominent. It doesn't start with the story. It starts with him talking about writing the story. So actually chapter 1 starts, and I'm going to just read a little snippet here. A snippet from Snicket. So funny. So it says, sometime during your life, in fact very soon, you may find yourself reading a book, and you may notice that that book's first sentence can often tell you what sort of story your book contains. For instance, a book that began with the sentence, "Once upon a time there was a family of cunning little chipmunks who lived in a hollow tree," would probably contain a story full of talking animals who get into all sorts of mischief. A book that began with the sentence, "Emily sat down and looked at a sack of blueberry pancakes her mother had prepared for her, but she was too nervous about Camp Tibbertops to eat a bite," would probably contain a story full of giggly girls who have a grand old time. And a book that began with the sentence, "Gary smelled the leather of his brand new catcher's mitt and waited impatiently for his best friend Larry to come around the corner," would probably contain a story full of sweaty boys who win some sort of trophy. And if you liked mischief, a grand old time, or trophies, you would know which book to read, and you could throw the rest of them away. But this book begins with the sentence, "The Baudelaire orphans looked out the grimy window of the train and gazed at the gloomy blackness of the finite forest, wondering if their lives would get any better. And you should be able to tell that the story that follows will be a different will be very different from the story of Gary or Emily or a family of cunning little chipmunks. And this is for the simple reason that the lives of Violet, Klaus, and Sonny Baudelaire are very different from most people's lives, with the main difference being the amount of unhappiness, horror, and despair. And then it goes on, I mean, for a full page, at the end of that page, that next page, he finally starts the story of the orphans. So it's almost as if from book 4 onward, we are going to see a lot more of Lemony Snicket kind of alluding to things, talking about things that we may not have noticed before. Maybe some different characters are introduced. So I'm really excited. Like I said before, and a million times before that, I am rereading this one for the very first time. So from here on out, I have only read these books once when they originally were published, and that was many, many years ago. Can't tell by my child-looking face, but many, many years ago I read these books. So really excited to continue, and I will let you know how it goes from there. So stay tuned. Okay, guys. So again, this book is the book that starts off all of these little secret-y things that are going to come later in the book, because I'm only on page 16, and Lemony Snicket has kind of superseded the book again and is in here talking about himself. And he's talking about a woman he once loved, which is Beatrice. And if you look at the very beginning of the book itself has who he's writing it to, and for the life of me, I don't know why I can't think of that right now. But it says, "To Beatrice, my love flew like a butterfly until death swooped down like a bat. As the poet Emma Montana McElroy said, that's the end of that." And then here on page 16, he brings her up again and how he wanted to marry her, and for some reason or other, she didn't want to. And instead of just telling him, she writes a 200-page book about it, explaining every single detail of the bad news at great length, and that he received it by a flock of carrier pigeons. So there is some comedy here about how not only is he writing about the unfortunate events of the Baudelaire children, or Baudelaire, I don't know. I say it how I want to say it, guys. He himself has an unfortunate life. So I feel like he's starting to interject those pieces of him in the books now. And it's really interesting. So again, from previous books, we didn't see a lot of him other than just, interjecting with, talking to the reader. But here, only 16 pages in, and he's done it a couple of times already. And not just little sentences, full paragraphs before getting into the actual story, the actual meat of what the children are doing. The children themselves have found themselves at Lucky Smell's lumber mill, and they've just approached the dock, or the train, not the dock, that was in the last book. They have just gotten off the train, and they see not only the mill, but they see a weird looking building that has a shape of an eye on it. So very ominous for the beginning of the book. So as you can tell, cheeky here, I am really loving these books. So yay! One thing I have found in these books, and maybe I'm just remembering other books that are yet to come, but there seems to be always one person, like one adult, who is trying to help the children, but doesn't. They're either too afraid, or it's not their place, or for one reason or another, they just don't step in and help. So, in the first book, in The Bad Beginning, we have Justice Strauss, who, hello, these children need your help, and does nothing. And then in the second, which is the reptile room, obviously Uncle Monty was just, I love Uncle Monty, and just was too blinded by his own, I don't know, poor Uncle Monty. And then in the third, we have, you know, the guardian in there too, which is Aunt Josephine, who's just so afraid of everything that she just can't do what she needs to do. And then in this book, the fourth book, The Miserable Mill, there's this character named Charles, and he kind of befriends the children. As far as where I'm at right now, I can't remember if that changes, or I'll let you know if it changes, but he's like befriending these children, and he knows that they shouldn't be working, but because they have to work in this mill, so they're like working, and it's been brought up a couple of times that they're children and they shouldn't be working, but like he just kind of goes, oh well, that's what Sir says you have to do, which Sir is their new guardian. We don't know what his real name is because apparently no one can pronounce it, so he just goes by Sir. But it just, you wonder, what is Lemony Snicket trying to convey here with the fact that there are grown adults who are allowing these children to be abused, is really what it is. Now this is a children's book, middle grade book, so you know the children are the victors. You know, they are the ones that are, you know, pushing the story forward. They're the ones that are the action. They're the ones that are going to save themselves. But dang, come on, adults, help a kid out. Dwight, what are you doing? So I'm at page 100 of The Miserable Mill. I'm sorry for all of the dumb motorcyclists. We are very close to a biker bar. Not Son of Anarchy's biker bar, but just a bar where people like to bring their bikes and then drive really loudly home. So I'm at page 100, and to a reader like me, I feel like I know who this Foreman character is. There's a man who is just a jerk. Just a jerk. His name is Foreman Falcutono. Falcutono is spelled F-L-A-C-U-T-O-N-O, which, if you look and you're good at anagrams, it's Count Olaf, okay? But he has not been made yet, which is exasperating because it's page 100 and we have 85 pages left. And he has not yet been made by the children nor anyone else. And there's been a very large accident in the mill right now, and Klaus has been taken to the eye doctor, and he comes back and he doesn't remember his time there. So it's getting very, very suspicious. And as a reader, especially someone like me who is looking for clues, I have alarm bells going off everywhere. Count Olaf is such a menace. He is a menace to society. I hate him. He's such a horrible person. I know it's him. It's got to be him. So yes, I have about 85 pages left. I'll be able to finish it. As you can see, I've been sitting out here. It's not a long book for myself, 185 pages in a middle grade book. I'll be able to finish it while I'm still sitting out here. So I'll be able to tell you a little bit more as we go on. Again, loving the writing style, loving all of the clues, loving the interjections, which are so much more in this book. I feel like at least once per chapter, you know, the Lemony Snicket narrator comes in and kind of like says something about himself, which is interesting because we have not yet learned a lot about him in the previous books. So I'm kind of excited to kind of get into his brain a little bit, which is really fun. And I just think overall, it's just, this is like the start of really getting interesting kind of characterizations of Lemony Snicket, of Count Olaf, of the children, how they're growing, and it's just getting really... Man, ask and you shall receive. I love this series. So, okay, so previously you saw me saying like, it's page 100, Count Olaf's nowhere to be seen, but I know it's gotta be him, like, all these kind of things, and it's like, where is he? Why hasn't he been made yet? Why hasn't he come to surface? And like I said, ask and you shall receive, my friends. Page 109, Lemony Snicket steps on in and saves the day. He says, "My beloved Beatrice, before her untimely death, asked it, although she asked it too late. The question is, where is Count Olaf?" If you have been following the story of these three orphans since the very beginning, then you know that Count Olaf is always lurking around those poor children, plotting and scheming to get his hands on the Baudelaire fortune. Within days of the orphans' arrival at a new place, Count Olaf and his nefarious assistants, the word nefarious here means Baudelaire hating, are usually on the scene, sneaking around and committing dastardly deeds. And yet, so far, he has been nowhere to be found. So, as the three youngsters reluctantly head toward Dr. Orwell's office, I know you must be asking yourself where in the world this despicable villain can be. The answer is very nearby. Finally! Thank you! I wanted to know! So, I mean, these books, I mean, he knows. He's got to know how readers think. He's got to be in our heads. He's there. He's saying, by now you're probably just so annoyed that you don't know what's happening that I'm going to interject here and let you know. No worry, my friends. He's around the next corner. I am finally in shade. About 20-25 minutes ago, suddenly the sun changed its position, and if you can see, I'm pretty burnt. I don't get a lot of sun, as you can tell, so I burn pretty easily. But my fiance came home and was able to put up our nice little umbrella for me, so that was so nice. But I have finished the miserable mill, and again, that Count Olaf got away, that jerk. So it's off to, looks like from our editor's note in the back, that they are off to Austere Academy. So that is the next stop on the series of unfortunate events, and I will actually be reading that one this month. Sorry about that. I will be reading that one this month as well, so you will be seeing more from me on the 5th in the series of unfortunate events. So make sure you stay tuned. So I am about to start reading the 5th book in a series of unfortunate events, which is the Austere Academy, or Austere Academy, however you want to say that. And I am so excited after reading the last book, which really is like the epitome of why I love these books, you know, with Lemony Snicket really interjecting his voice more, which is like my favorite part. I'm really excited to see how that develops within the next couple of books, so I am on to the 5th book. But before that, I have to show you the most perfect looking lunch. Is this not just the most gorgeous looking food you've ever seen? I mean, it's like good enough for a magazine. I mean, maybe not the plate so much, but how can you not enjoy that beautiful looking wrap and then this awesome book? Time to get started. I don't like sitting outside. I know you've been seeing me outside a lot, and I have enjoyed it, but I have just been sitting out here, and there is a spider on me. I don't like spiders. I don't like ants. I don't like bugs. And it seems like I've been sitting out here, and I keep getting stuff on me, and I have little bites all over me. Like, I have a bite here and a bite here. That's from yesterday. I got all sunburned. I don't like this wilderness. I'm itchy. Man, but when I just saw that spider on me, he was a little tiny, like the tiniest spider, but he looked from right here, he was right here on me, and from that angle, he had like big claws, and he was gray and black, and I used my handy dandy bookmark, and I went, just like that. And then I couldn't find him because I needed to make sure he wasn't still on me. And I did find him, and he crawled away. But then I lost track of him. So I don't know if he's coming back for a second attack. But I think I'm gonna go inside. I hate bugs. Anywho, I'm not very far. I got a couple of pages in. I got distracted by my lunch, which was fantastic. And a little bit of the gram. And then, yeah, so I've only got about 10 pages in. That's horrible for an hour-long lunch. But I was very distracted, and the bugs are very distracting to me. And food is distracting to me because I really like food. Anywho, so we have reached Proof Rock Academy. No, Proof Rock, what the hell? Preparatory School. Proof Rock Preparatory School. And Mr. Poe is leading the children in, and they're thinking about, you know, what their future is going to look like here, and they're hoping that they're going to be able to, oh, there's another spider. Oh, I think it's the same one. I gotta go. Okay, we're leaving now. We're done. We're not playing this game. Goodbye outside. So anyways, Mr. Poe is leading the children into the new school, and they're worried that they won't be able to do all the things that they would like to do. Obviously, something new. I did find something very interesting in the beginning of the book, before the book begins, which I'm really excited about, and I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm going to wait until later, because I think that it'll be a big reveal for all of the books, so I'm really excited about that little secret. So sorry, no spoilers allowed. I will give that to you in a later video, probably towards the end of my series. And yeah, so enjoying what I'm reading so far. I know I'm only 10 pages in, but as I've been telling you, these books, I mean, he packs a lot into the short amount of pages. Just an excellent writer, and just very, very, very clever. So I will get back with you in a little while. I'm inside, away from the nasty bugs and insects, the outside world. I don't like bugs. Anywho, so I've read a little bit more here. At the end of my lunch, I am now up to chapter 3, which is about 30 pages in. And I remember reading this book now. I really despise 2 people in this book so far. There's a lot of despicable people in this book. But first, we meet Carmelita Spatz, I think is her name. We don't really get to know her yet, but as soon as I read her name, I went, oh yeah, that little girl. She's so awful. She's so awful for like a little girl. She is the worst. Yeah, Carmelita Spatz. She calls them cake sniffers. Really? Cake sniffer? Oh my gosh. And then the administrator, like the principal, Vice Principal Nero, is a total weasel. He thinks he is a genius. He actually calls himself a genius. and he thinks he can play the violin, and he cannot. And he is so mean. He like mimics, he like mocks the children constantly. So they'll say something and he'll be like, "Ah, nah, 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 nah." Like he'll repeat what they're saying. And it's like, you're an adult. Are you seriously mocking them? Like, they're asking, where do we live? Where do we live? Dude, you have tiny little ponytails on your head that are tufts of hair. You're not cool. So anywho, we find out that their new guardian or person that is above them again is not so kind. And he laughs at them. Like, he laughs at their misery, which is so sad. And I just want to punch him in the face. Urgh. So anywho, still really loving it. Obviously, so good. There's a piece here that at the very end where we find that Vice Principal Nero has laughed at the children. Lemony Snicket is speaking to the reader, and he says this line which makes me think, and it says, "So, as I hide out here in this mountain cabin and I write the words he, and you, wherever you are hiding out, read the words he, you should know that he stands for the worst sound the Baudelaires have ever heard." So Lemony Snicket is hiding while he's writing the tale of the Baudelaires, and then he's assuming that the person who's reading it is also hiding out. So it's like a secret. So he's writing this whole kind of miserable account of these children's lives in secret. So does that imply that someone is out to get him? Is someone out to get the reader because they shouldn't be reading it? These are the things that make me go gaga. I love it. It's so good. So I am going to be coming back to work now and going to try to get the rest of this done later on today. Yay! So I figured I would multitask, so please refrain from looking at the crazy head and the messy kitchen. But I am prepping some food here. I'm making a soup tonight, which it's like 80 degrees outside, and I'm making soup. But hey, whatever, right? We wanted soup, so I'm making soup. It's nice in the house though. We have our air on, so it's not like it's really hot out here. It's just a little bit toasty outside. But I am up to about 100 in the Austere Academy, which I believe he just, on page like 84, just described what austere means, which is basically like stern or severe. Which I was glad that he finally said that, because I myself, who you would think I would know words, totally was like, I wonder what that means. Because, you know, in each book he tries to make the words of the same letter. So the bad beginning, the reptile room, the wide window, the miserable mill, the austere academy. And then the next one I think is something like at a carnival, like the carnivorous carnival or something like that. So he always tries to have the same letter, even though it's proof rock. Why can't I preparatory school? I always forget that. But anywho, so I'm into chapter 8? 9? I'm at 100 pages. So I'm halfway through, because this one's about 220 pages long. And, oh, you know what? It's not the carnival one next. It's the elevator one. Yeah. So it's 2 E's. Anywho, squirrel. So we have met the Quagmire triplets, and they are very interesting because their parents also passed away in a fire. So for all of us investigators, that is very, very interesting. So that I'm really enjoying that. It's like clue after clue after clue. We have met the new gym teacher, who seems a little villainous. And the vice principal Nero is still a huge jerk. He's by far one of the slimiest men that I've met in this book. I also really do not like Carmelita Spats. If I ever met a child like Carmelita Spats, I would literally throw cake in her face. If she said cake sniffer to me, I would push a cake in her face. That's what she deserves. She is an evil child. She is not very kind. But anywho, I've been enjoying it. Obviously, I keep saying that, but these books are awesome. I love rereading them. I love looking at all the pictures. So, yeah. That's what I have for you for now. Until next time. I'm sure some heinous something will happen. Horrible. We have yet to see any of his evil henchmen, which in the first couple books we saw them quite frequently, and in the last book we only saw one of them, so you have to wonder, where are these scheming little peasant, I don't know why I said peasant, scheming little jerks. I'm a loss for words, because I'm steaming, but yeah, still really good, guys, so I hope that you are considering this as your next series to read. So, I am up to page 158, and the Quagmire triplets and the Baudelaire children are trying to figure something out, and they have found some information about Count Olaf that is really interesting. They don't know if it is Count Olaf, but they found some newspaper articles of things that have happened in different parts of the world, and it sounds like Count Olaf. And then right before, they're gonna say, and then we found a newspaper from your hometown that said, and then the Isadora, which is one of the triplets, goes, I don't mean to interrupt, but we better stop thinking about the past and start thinking about the present. No! We could have just learned something. Oh my gosh. Isadora! I have just finished the Austere Academy. And a huge clue is revealed at the end. Maybe not revealed is a good way to put it, but like the fact that there's more to the story than anyone knows is revealed. And that's exciting. The ending is very unfortunate. But for us sleuths, it's very, very interesting. From our nice editor's letter, we know that the next book is the Ersatz Elevator, which looks very, 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 very fancy. I'm excited. So I will gather my thoughts on the fourth and fifth book. So the fourth book being The Miserable Mill, and this one being The Austere Academy. I'll gather my thoughts, and I'll let you know what I ultimately think about these two books. Yikes frights. So good. And now is time to talk a little bit about these last two books, the fourth and fifth installments of a series of unfortunate events, The Miserable Mill and the Austere Academy. I keep thinking like between a 4 and a 5, a 4 and a 5 for both of them. 4 and a 5, 4 and a 5. So I think I'm going to have to break my trend of doing whole stars and give them both a 4.5. These were really good. These two were so good. But like, I don't know. I just can't think, like I can't give them 5s. I don't know why. I just don't feel 5s. I don't feel 5s for them. But I definitely think they deserve more than a 4. So we're going to say 4.5. Now, as you saw throughout my vlog, this is where it gets real. With Lemony Snicket just jumping in, talking about himself, alluding to secret societies, alluding to being on the run, alluding to writing this, like, and it being really secretive. So when you're watching the Netflix series and you're wondering, like, why are there all these secret society this and secret society that? That is where the show, like, picked up on all those little nuances, which for me as a reader, being a sleuth, which I'm surprised I don't read more mystery. Anyways, I love that part. Those are the parts like I want to dissect and be like, what is he talking about? And I want to string all the things together, okay? I am kind of a dork. When I say kind of, I mean like 150% a dork about these books. I just like, how can you not like that? Like, you're reading a children's book where, now, does the typical child read that piece where he's saying he's hiding in a mountain, writing about the Baudelaire orphans? Do they think to themselves, oh, he's writing about this after the fact, and he's on the run, and Count Olaf is after him? Or, who's this Beatrice? And he keeps bringing her up, and no, they don't! I do. Oh! I'm a little bit of a weirdo. I'm a little bit too excited. A little bit too much. But these are so good. So the Miserable Mill, again, they get sent off to the, what's it called? What did we say it was called? The something. They get to Lucky Smells Lumber Mill, which, Lucky Smells, like seriously, like who thinks this stuff up? Anywho, they meet a man there named Phil who is a super optimist, and you just love Phil. He's so nice. They meet Charles, who again is a very nice fellow but does nothing to help them. And of course, that darn Count Olaf gets into the way. So anywho, they're forced to work at this mill, and all these crazy things happen, and I'm trying to have the least amount of spoilers in here, but you gotta understand, I'm doing a full series. There's some kind of spoiler. Something happens with the optometrist, with Klaus, as you can see on the front. He breaks his glasses, and something very villainous happens, and we meet a receptionist named Shirley. Surely there is something mysterious about her. Anywho, wonderful book. Like I said, 4.5, and based solely on the fact that Lemony Snicket is just pushing through the pages on this one. I mean, in our other books, you know, he kind of interjects here and there, but very, very briefly. In this one, he just like jam-packs into the scene. I'm here. So that was Miserable Mill. Loved it. The Austere Academy. Vice Principal Nero is not a genius, though he calls himself a genius in every scene he is in. He thinks he can play the violin, and he cannot. And there's a horrible gym teacher, and a lot of exams, and stupid crabs. And this again, 4.5. Lemony Snicket jumps in here and talks about himself a little bit. We see a little bit of secret societies maybe, and him just really like coming through, which is my favorite part. The children again are so smart. They meet the Quagmire triplets, which are like a mirror of themselves, which is so awesome. You find out that they also have parents that died in a fire. So it's all like interconnected, but you don't quite know why. And at the very end of this book, we get the clue of the rest of the series. The clue that will drive the Bundler orphans to the end. I am so excited. You know, no, 4.5s. I gotta keep it at 4.5s. I gotta keep it at 4.5s. 4.5s, guys. Anywho, I'm so happy you have stuck around for my vlog. I am so excited to move on to the next book, which is the Ersatz Elevator. Yes, that's what we figured out. It is book 6. I will only be reading that by itself in June. It is a little bit more of a chunkster, not by much. I think it's still in the low 200s, but I'm going to save that one for all of itself. I really like Jerome in that that one. I do remember him from when I read it the first time, but I hope you are enjoying this series. Let me know, have you read any of the series of unfortunate events? What are your thoughts? Have you picked up on the secret societies? Have you picked up on the clues? What are your thoughts about Lemony Snicket? Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, guys, I hope you are all reading something great. I hope you are taking care. I hope you are not melting like me. It is so humid and I've got no hair and all these lights are so bright. Till next time, guys, you know how it goes. Happy reading. Bye.